right, welcome Rabyd Nation, and this is your host, Ed Raby, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the Monday stream. I know we normally do a fireside chat, but I received a comment yesterday on one of my Paulogia videos from one of the people that's involved in the drama, Real Seeker. And I wanted to respond to this comment. I was going to just type a response in the chat like everything else. And so, but then I thought, man, this is going to take me hours, and I just rather deal with it in maybe a stream format, and then I can deal with the comment and at the same time address some issues related to the comment. I also wanted to experiment, like Monday streams have been kind of open anyway, like an open forum. And so I'm kind of experimenting with the idea of let's address a specific question or issue, and then maybe we'll just devolve into general stuff. So I put a poll in the chat about that. You guys that come regularly, you know, what do you think? Should it be like a combination and stuff like that? So there's that. I also put the goal in the chat, but I only have one hat option. You're either going to make me wear the newsboy hat or you're not. I wanted to keep the other poll in, and I can't do two polls at once. So there's you that. So there you that. I suppose I should bring everybody up to speed on the drama. And part of that will come out in dealing with the comments. So maybe I'll wait till then, actually, now that I think about it. But I also, before we get too far started and maybe allow a little bit more time for people to come in before I deal with this question, the thumbnail you saw is one of I Killed Earl's, and I wanted to put it up so you can actually see it with all the words in front of it. So this is her artwork, and I wanted to give her a shout out. This is one of my favorite pieces now. All of Earl's stuff is becoming my favorite pieces, but I wanted to put this up there for the thumbnail. But this has been kind of the ongoing this has been kind of the ongoing thing that's going on between Habermas, Paulogia. Now somehow thanks to Real Seeker, I've kind of been roped into this a little bit, and it's nice. It's kind of nice there that we've been drawn into this. But I started doing reactions to kind of give everybody a taste of everything. I started kind of doing reactions to Paulogia's videos when he was taking on Habermas, because one of the criticisms of Paulogia was he doesn't have educational creds. And I'm like, well, I can react to Paul's videos and back them up with my educational creds. And that's all my goal was with Paulogia. So when he did the survey isn't what I thought video, which I did, I think 2 pieces as a reaction to it. And then he did this other, apologist doesn't like my fact checking. I think that's kind of the general title. I may be paraphrasing. I did a 3-part on that, and some of you sat through that because it's of interest to me. My credentials, I don't have a terminal degree that Habermas wants, but I think I have a pertinent degree and a pertinent stake in this. And I also have the practical dealing with things as a pastor in the past when I was still a Christian. And I have my own thing with Habermas anyway, and the minimal facts. I'm working on a video why I think the minimal facts aren't facts. So, and it's probably, the problem is, it's such an elephant in the room to me, but maybe it's not to other people. The Gospels might be problematic as a source kind of thing. And I'll get more into that with the video, but I wanted to. So yesterday I was getting into things. I was about ready to, pull up the Fireside Chat stuff, and we were going to do that today on Monday, but I got a comment from Real Seeker. And I want to deal with a comment today. I reached out to Paulogia, and we've been in a kind of email dialogue, when in between me sleeping and other things. And he sent me a video that Real Seeker interviewed Habermas about these very issues. And I've been listening to the thing on double speed since I woke up. I haven't quite finished it, but I got past the questions. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I think that video might be worth a reaction, maybe on Saturday, at least in part. The problem is it's 2 hours long, and I don't want to I don't want to go 4 parts on a reaction to Real Seeker. I may edit his video to the pertinent parts that I think are important to the issue. But let's get into the reaction to Real Seeker's comment. So I screenshot his comment, put it in a PowerPoint in 3 parts. So we're going to deal with it in 3 parts. So here we go. So let's add this thing to the stage. And let's go back to the first one. Okay, so Dale, Real Seeker, for the record, he was the guy that during my one stream, and he came in and started talking to me and bringing up evidence and comments and things like that. And my response to him, I tried to answer his questions as objectively, and I think one of my mods shanked him, maybe. I don't know. But I think one of my mods had enough. And so that's that. So that's the context for the comment. But let's read it. It says, Dale Real Seeker, I managed to see this video now, and he's talking about my first part of fact checking, where Paulogia fact checks the stuff. Okay, that where the apologist didn't like his fact checking. I believe you were trying to throw some kind of olive branch toward me and Gary, despite your probably false opinion of Gary's character. For what it's worth, okay, I don't know if I have a false opinion. I don't really have an opinion on Gary's character. I have an opinion on the character of one thing that Gary did. Okay, and it's shady to me. It's shady. If I was still a Christian, it would have been shady. Okay, and I'm going to say some things at the end of this response when I get there. But for what it's worth, I'm happy to take your word that despite the polemic style, you're being in good faith and sincere here. And if that's so, well, then I am happy to shake your virtual hand on my end. Okay, well, I am an honest seeker for the truth. I am an atheist. And so if you're going to shake my hand, you need to understand, you need to drop all, if I'm going to extend my hand towards you and shake it as somebody I'm going to dialogue with, then to be fair to theists, I have had in the 6 years I've been on, almost 6 years I've been on YouTube, very good dialogues with theists. In fact, the first donation to this channel of $2 came from a theist who had had many pleasant dialogues with. And so I understand I don't have a problem shaking theists' hands if we're all in good faith. I'm just very cautious about that. I'm also like, I've gotten to a level in my autism where I don't trust anybody until they prove it to me. So it's kind of one of those things that you have to watch out for. So yeah, whatever. But I don't have a problem. I don't know Gary well enough to know his full character. What I do know is what he did here about volume 3 of his magnum opus. And to me, it's shady as hell. Okay. The way he did it. Okay. Just to clarify, I understand you didn't realize it was I originally. I wasn't so much miffed by what you said in the first show where I asked genuine questions and you answered. He did answer some questions and I did answer them. But when I left, you felt you did it by blocking me in show 2 simply because this skeptic said I was deluded and asked him to prove his claim. You labeled me a presupper and booted me out from commenting with yourself, and the skeptics were making understanding all over the place. Honestly, I don't remember this incident, and I want to clarify something to anybody who's out there listening to this video. I have not blocked somebody or put somebody in timeout personally in a long time. That's my mods. My mods have pretty clear instructions that if a discussion doesn't seem to be getting anywhere and the person is just like, they can block each other. They can block that person. I don't know the complete circumstance. Now, as far as being a presupper, I'm going to say that at this point, I've listened to a lot of mainstream apologists at this point, and all of them are starting to add presuppositional elements like, we've proven like in Gary Habermas's case, he's doing it in the sense that he is saying, I've proven the resurrection, you got to prove I'm wrong. And my response would be, no, you haven't proven the resurrection because all your proof is kind of sus. Okay. And you still haven't proven it. And I'm not making I'm the thing about it with naturalistic theories is I think Habermas and many others have a wrong impression about them. Naturalistic theories are simply the response to the incredulity of some apologists when they say, we've proven the resurrection, now you have to disprove it. No, or there's no other way to think about how it has to be the resurrection because there's no other way. What naturalistic theories do is they absolutely basically say, no, this is an alternative explanation and it's perfectly rational that it could have happened this way. They don't have to prove that that is the way that happened. The fact that there's a multitude of naturalistic theories kind of indicates that maybe the resurrection isn't the only way that it could have happened just by their very existence. So I didn't do a roll call, and I'm going to do that really quick here because I do like to recognize everybody here. Fred was here early, and I could take a little break here. But I want to deal with the unsubstantiated claim here in a minute. Rimmer is here. Evan is here. Decibel is here. Earl, the lovely Earl. The Lord and the lap in which our Lord naps is here. Michael Wolf is here. Anybody else? Ray came. Yeah, I want to make sure I get everybody because you guys are awesome. So thank you for showing up. All right. Understand that, and the other skeptics were making unsubstantiated claims all over the place. I don't know what I was doing at this time, but I don't, when it comes to Habermas, we have the video receipts, okay, of things that he has said. And I really think that Habermas needs a handler at this point. But my problem with apologists at this point is all of them have, even the mainstream ones that used to reject presup are now saying, hey, we've proven it. You need to disprove it now. No, you haven't. Okay. That's a debatable point where you prove it or not. And Habermas kind of went into that mode. I mean, if you watch the other two videos I did on the fact checking, there's a part where he basically says, prove me wrong now. And it's like, no, I don't have to prove you wrong. I just don't accept your evidence to do this in the first place. So I don't know what was going on in this particular incident. I know that I engaged a lot of theists during my chat, and I don't remember all of them because I spend a lot of time trying to keep a track of all of chat. And so it's difficult to keep track of one incident, and I would have to go back and look at it. But there's a good chance that if you were blocked from further comment permanently, okay, which is what it sounds like, it's because you were either saying the same thing over and over or weren't backing up your claims. Okay, like if you make a claim here and then you just keep making a claim over and over again, that doesn't make it true. So there's that. So, hey, Goodwill, looking for something. Okay, glad you caught it. Yeah, me too. Hey, Dave, good to see you. But yes, so I have Real Seeker's other video with Habermas. I want to make a note of that right now. I've listened to it double speed before I got on air today. I think he's making a lot of the same mistakes he made before. Paul from Paulogia is very aware of this. So we're in kind of an email dialogue right now about it. And I kind of told him, I said, after listening to this, Paul, I just typed him a quick comment. This would be a good response video for you too, because he's doubling down on the evangelical thing when the entire time he was hawking the book, he was saying Christian versus non-Christian over and over and over again. And Paul, the real thing that bugs me is Habermas, if you're going to make claims that your minimal facts are based by 80-90% scholars, majority scholars or whatever, you should do some research that backs that up. You should also, maybe make sure if you're making them more non-Christians than Christians, I think, well, you need to get past, I think, or I feel, and get to, okay, that there are more non-Christians than Christians. And that's the claim he made over and over. I watched a lot of the promo for his book series. because I was interested in it myself as a former pastor, a theological scholar myself. And I never heard him say evangelical until after Paul caught him. Okay. And that's when it happened. Once Paulogia gave out his fact-checking stuff, all of a sudden, Habermas is very careful to use the word evangelical versus non-evangelical. It was a change that was immediate. And that's my problem. Okay. That's my one objection to how this was done. Okay. It's not that there's a whole bunch of problems with his research methodology. And just for the record, my theological studies degree from Asbury is a research-oriented degree. And so I also took a few classes on what proper research is. And this is back in the 90s. And so I had to kind of upgrade my information when I was working on my poli-sci degree at Ferris. I had to take a class about computer information and how to get things and do proper research, which kind of updated me with how to do online research better. So I don't at this point, I gotta say, sorry, you didn't really address my problem in your video. Okay. As why you were hawking this as more non-Christians versus Christians all the time until you got caught. Okay. That's my problem. I really feel at this point that Paulogia is having a much like Prophet of Zod kind of exposed, J. Warner Wallace's, conversion timeline. I think Paulogia, with his simple fact check of the Christian versus non-Christian thing, has kind of done the same thing to Habermas. I don't know if the fallout is going to be as good because Habermas is much more beloved, I think, than J. Warner Wallace is. But it's an interesting moment where somebody just simply pulls out, hey, you keep saying Christian versus non-Christian, and that's not true. Okay, so yeah. So there's that. Yeah, there's a lot of appeal to authority. There's also a lot of appeal to popularity in it too. So the extent I may have reacted uncharitably to you, I'm reading his comments some more. I apologize. I'm happy to treat you as somebody acting in good faith and not just trying to mock Gary, myself, or other Christians. I'm not trying to mock Gary. I'm pointing out that he did something that was wrong. Okay. And if he had come on after Paulogia had done his video and said, you know what, I really didn't fact check whether this was Christians versus non-Christians. I apologize for that. I really should have had my facts in order about that ahead of time. And so on and so forth. If he had, but instead he switches to this evangelicals versus non-evangelicals. And then he doesn't even have the decency to define what he means by evangelical. If you're going to sit there and say, okay, there's more non-evangelicals / critics, than Christians and evangelicals, then that's what you should have said in the first place, right out the gates. But the problem with that is it's really hard to sell a book to all Christians if you're going to make a division within them. Okay. And I think I'm going to say this right now, Real Seeker, if you ever listen to this or you're listening. Your problem isn't with me or Paulogia anymore. Your problem is there's a lot of people that are conscientious Christians, pastors like myself, like I used to be, who heard you hawking this book and heard that phrase, there's more non-Christians than Christians, over and over. And then suddenly that doesn't become the case. It's not true. And a good conscientious Christian is going to say, well, I don't want something in my library where they can't even get the basics of what they're saying when they're selling the book right. Okay, like you really needed a publicist to tell Gary what to say because he's awful at communicating this stuff. Okay, and something better needed to be done. So there's that. I don't know. Thanks. Yes, I'm trying to deal with a comment more than deal with chat today. I'm sorry, guys, if I feel like you're not being paid attention to in chat. I am trying to pay attention, and my autism doesn't include ADHD, so I don't have that problem necessarily. I'm more of a define it kind of guy, but yes. Let's see. to that end, I did a video with Gary responding to some of the Paulogia, but also some of the skeptic claims on his third volume. And I have listened to that video now at double speed. I will probably listen to it again because I just got it from Paulogia today. And so I'm kind of still mulling over my thoughts on it. I will say this, that I think there's a lot of non sequiturs to the issue at hand. I know you're trying to deal with other critics besides me and Paul, so maybe there's other criticism. So I will be charitable as I can, but I also once again heard this evangelical versus non-evangelical thing when that is not the way the book was advertised at first until Paul did his fact check on Christians versus non-Christians. And then all of a sudden the word evangelical started getting thrown around. And so we have the video receipts on that. So, I'm not trying to deal with it that way. So let's see, let's see, what else is he found? His answers very convincing on my end. And since I know Gary personally, I vouch that he isn't trying to gaslight or walk things through in a day. Well, I'm going to tell you something. When we know somebody personally, we tend to give them more of the benefit of the doubt. I could tell war stories of my time as a pastor where I trusted people and thought they were of good character and found out quite the opposite. So, and it was my personal relationship with me that blinded me sometimes to the obvious problems that a person has. Okay. Like it's better to have a neutral person come in and do that. And I'm kind of colored against Harry, so I would admit my bias against him at this point. But I don't care that you know him personally, because that actually may blind you to other things. I think there's some good psychological research with that. Like when you're friends with somebody, you tend to overlook their faults a lot more. And so you don't have to deal with that. You're just going to ramble regardless. Okay. I'm fair. Okay. You guys talk among yourselves and I'll deal with this comment. You may have found his answers very convincing, Real Seeker. I did not. I listened to the video and I don't find his answers convincing. Okay. And it's not because I'm biased against him, because he's doubling down on a lot of things and then he's not dealing with the direct issue that is my criticism. I still have a problem with the fact that you won't mention names, and I'll get to that in a little bit on the third part of your comment, but here we go. Really isn't trying to, it doesn't matter whether somebody tries to gaslight. Some people just gaslight without really intending to. That's the problem with gaslighting, is sometimes you do it without intending to, although I would say you have to have some malicious intent. Here's the thing. If you're still going to say that it was always about evangelicals versus non-evangelicals, even though I've got the video and Paul has the video receipts over and over again in Paulogia of him basically saying Christian versus non-Christian all the time and never mentioning evangelicals in that context. And now he wants me to believe that it's always been about evangelicals versus non. That is gaslighting. Okay. Okay. Whether he intends to it or not, even if he admits that he miscommunicated on issues, he needed to apologize for the miscommunication. And he also said, I probably shouldn't have done the non-Christian versus Christian thing. I probably shouldn't have done that. Okay, because that's not true. And he should have, if he had acknowledged Paul's truthfulness in his research, like, I didn't really bother to look up everybody's, religious affiliation, which apparently he didn't bother. And, he had a research assistant on this. Why didn't you do it then? Like, okay, you could have got a lot of facts about the people you're mentioning in your book that you could have used to promote the book. Okay. But Gary, I'm sorry, Habermas seems to have this problem with doing basic stuff. I mean, that's my problem, Michael Wolff. Like, the problem with the non-Christian Christian thing was with the evangelical thing that he later tried to do, Michael, is this. Now, and I think I know why he didn't want to do this, and I've said it before in my other reactions, is if you suddenly start making divisions between evangelicals and non-evangelical Christians, the non-evangelical Christians, well, maybe this book isn't for me. Maybe this whole series isn't for me, because it's really about evangelicals thumping their chest about how right they are. I really think he should have taken the evangelical thing right out of the equation. Okay, so So it's not a question of making mistakes. It's a question of over and over saying Christian versus non-Christian while you're hawking the book, until somebody does a fact check when they get the book. And they look up the names and say, oh man, 79% of these people are professing Christians. There's a bunch we don't know, but even if all of them belong to the Church of Satan, I'm quoting Paulogia here, you still only have, you have way more Christians than non-Christians. And so your claim that there were more non-Christians versus Christians over and over again is false. It's an easy fact check. And then he wants to do the evangelical thing. Well, now you're alienating non-evangelical Christians. Okay. And not willing to define what evangelical is. That's a problem for me. Like, I took a class in seminary called evangelical theology. We had a definition for what evangelical was. It's not hard to come up with a definition for evangelical. Well, once you do that, then all of a sudden you have this divide, and you don't want the divide because you want everybody to be buying your book that's in the Christian sphere. Because let's be honest, there's only people that are Christians buy apologetic books for the most part, and people are interested in debunking apologetics. And so it's not one of those things. So, all right. Makes the podcast off the cuff. It's not a question of off the cuff. It's when he was officially like promoting the book. This isn't a one-time off the cuff incident, Real Seeker. This is something he did constantly for years before the book was published. What volume 3 is going to be is a survey, which I'm not sure that's an accurate description of what this book is based on some of the pages I've read and looked at. And here we are. Oh, we're finally going to get the survey that backs up the minimal facts, because Gary said, minimal facts have to be backed up by this and this, and we're finally going to get his research that deals with this. There was a lot of misintentions with the way he hawked this book, and the Christians, non-Christian thing came up a lot. I'm sorry, I was very interested in this, and every time before Paul did his little fact check, when we finally had the book in hand, and we could do a fact check on Christians versus non-Christians, he always said Christians versus non-Christians every time. Okay, so this is not like a miscue or whoops or any of that. It was him doing it all the time. Now, maybe he had some misapprehensions about, well, he should have done some research. He should have done what Paul did to make sure that what he was saying was true. But he didn't, because as usual, Habermas can't be bothered when it's stuff that actually matters to other people. He only bothers himself when it matters to him. Okay. And that's kind of the problem. Okay. Anyway, I was going to say that I can vouch for Gary has none of the malevolent inner motivations you ascribe to him. I'm not subscribing malevolence. I'm describing what I do with a lot of apologists. You have a business and you're keeping the business running. It's shilling. Okay. We're all shilling. Okay. That's not necessarily a criticism, but it's not a question of him making a small error. He promoted this book as a certain thing, and it turns out that thing is not true. Okay. It's absolutely not true. In fact, restrained by me not mentioning any skeptics' names. Okay. Now I want to talk about the name thing. Why? Okay. I'll get to this a little bit more later, but why do you have such a problem naming names? I think it's childish. It shows a basic lack of human respect for a person when they level a criticism at you and you won't even name their name. That's dehumanizing. And quite frankly, I find it morally repugnant. If you're going, I have the same problem that do things anonymously. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand the need for anonymously, but if you're going to be, dude, just name the names. Just say Paulogia has this criticism, because if that's who you're dealing with, name his name. I'm sorry, most scholars, if you're dealing with a critical scholar, aren't going to have a problem with you naming their names. It's like, what the hell? Okay, what is the problem here? Okay, I don't understand. I'm going to pull this one back up. See here at the bottom, underneath the little blackboard, say my name, Gary, Paulogia. Say it. Okay, his name is Paul. Okay, What is so, say my name. Okay, I've got scholarly creds. I don't have a terminal degree, but I have a Master of Arts degree in theological studies from a noted seminary that's accredited. Okay, that I did okay in after my father's death. I struggled and slogged through my last year. But I got the required GPA. It's a PhD prep degree. Like, what is the problem with saying our names? I do not understand this. Okay, I'm saying your name is Dale, right? I can say your name. I can say Real Seeker. I can say Gary Habermas. Okay, this is who I'm dealing with. I do not understand this at all. It seems really weird to me. Okay. It's not a question of tit for tat. Okay, let's read this. It says, in the most recent show, because he didn't want to call out any skeptic, a scholar of power, or create some tit for tat. It's not about tit for tat. It's about respect. And if you had come out and respected Paulogia's fact checking about your Christian versus non-Christian thing, and said, you know what, I made a mistake on that. I shouldn't have been saying that. I should have been saying evangelical versus non-evangelical the whole time. Or, that there's more skeptics than that claim. Have you proven that, there are more skeptics in this list or not? I don't know. If the vast majority of them are Christians, then I can't imagine that the key doctrine for Christianity, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, is something that some of them would be overtly against, seeing you kind of have to believe in it to be a Christian. Okay, so, and Lacona kind of pointed that out, and a few others. Like, I think this is your real problem now, because now that it's come out about, this, it's just disrespectful. This isn't about tit for tat or going back and forth or attack videos. Okay, if he's worried about attack videos, why? If your thing is so ironclad and all that, you should be able to present your viewpoint and not worry about criticism. But here you are. I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to do tit for tat. I'm not going to do any of that crap. And it's like, what are you worried about that for? You're in the arena of ideas. Grow up and realize that people are going to be critical and attack your viewpoints. Get over it. People attack my shit all the time. Okay. I don't get it. Why do you have such a problem naming names? I don't get it. He wanted to get his side out there and then let people decide the truth for themselves. Well, isn't that what naming names would help do? Like who the critic is and what they say? Oh boy. Next part. One thing I clarified that relates to me personally is what Paulogia said about me and Gary's source for the report about you and him is three scuff. Paul claimed that I either lied to Gary or that Gary miscommunicated about when this was actually Gary factually correct on this front. I was referring to three actual PhD scholars on this front, and I so wasn't addressing you or Paulogia. Well, then name them. I want the names of those three scholars. Who are they? Now, maybe we misunderstood. I'll openly acknowledge that. But when he was talking about a popularizer in that stream, we knew exactly who he was talking about. Paulogia, say his name. Why do you have a problem saying his name? Because then people will go look him up and see, oh, this is his criticism of Habermas. Oh, some of this criticism is legit. Is that what you're really worried about? If you really feel your crap is so ironclad, then you wouldn't be worried about naming the name of a critic. Okay, and if these are three actual PhD scholars that are dealing with this, okay, then name their names. Who are they? Okay, you could have absolutely cleared up confusion on this issue by naming the three names. Oh my gosh, Real Seeker. Dude, if that's who you were referring for and you named their names, then we would know that this is not who they were referring to. It's I don't know. I'm sorry. Part of the communication error may be on, but I think you did miscommunicate because you just didn't name the names. If you had named the names of the people you were actually talking about, these three scholars have criticism, and it's Joe, Fred, and Dave. Okay, then you would have had some sort of, oh, okay, you're not talking about us at all, and we would have realized you weren't talking about us. Okay. And I really feel that that's problematic here, dude. Like, I'm not trying to be rude here, but if you had named names, okay, it would have been over. Okay. the real problem Habermas and you seem to have is really bad communication. You need to work about, and a problem of it is unfortunately Habermas's incredulity, like because he doesn't feel like, oh, I don't need to deal with that issue because it's not important to me. It's important to other people when you're communicating to them, and not you, Fred. I, I I wouldn't dishonor you by putting you in the scholarly camp. Sorry, bro. uh, yeah, Stormburn had a good comment that I did see. The book seems to be kind of acerbic. It's a bad word because of the ambiguity that when it's supposed to support an appeal to consensus. He's actually claiming that 3 independent scholars took the time to count 500 religious affiliations. I don't know. I do know that Paulogia did. He spent a week going through the names in the book and trying to figure out what they're, and he came to, there are 79% of them are confessing Christians of various types. So it was a majority Christian and a minority non-Christian, first of all, which undercuts his idea that they were critics of the resurrection, and he knows it. Habermas knows this. How can you be a critic of the resurrection when it's your central tenet of the doctrine? Now, I know some Christians who look at it metaphorically or spiritually or whatever and don't believe in an actual real bodily resurrection. I get that. But you kind of need to point those guys out to make your claims still stick. Okay, so yeah, it's not a good look. This isn't quit hand waving it away, because everything I heard about book 3 and what I was so excited about is these are non-Christians that verify the minimal facts, that verify what he's saying is true. And I want to thank Lacona for convincing him to put it in. Otherwise, we would have just had book 2, and then book 4 would have come out, his personal thoughts about the resurrection, and we wouldn't have had a really good look at his methodology. But then I would have had the criticism at that point of the whole book. Well, what's your methodology of proving that you keep saying the majority of scholars agree with these? Well, who are these scholars? What are their names? And who are they? And do you have them all? Okay. Like he, in the video I just listened to with him, once again, he's kind of like dismissing mythicists. And he even, I think, makes the statement that there aren't very many mythicists with a terminal degree. And then I'm like, Richard Carrier like has a list of historians that don't believe that Jesus was a real person. And I think it's 45 people long. Are all of them in your book? See, the problem I have then with the methodology is, do you have everybody in here that would genuinely be a critic, or are you picking and choosing your critics? Okay. See, this is the problem with this book, is it kind of reveals a very bad methodology to me as a guy with a research degree. Okay. Like, I spent a lot of time in the Asbury Library going through dusty tomes, learning how to research things properly. And part of it is you need to find people that are critical of what you think and address them. And you need to be much more active in that than you are other ways. But if you don't have all 45 of those mythicists with terminal degrees in your book, then I would say your research is incomplete. Okay. So, and I can make that thing. So at the same time, they never made any attempt to tell Gary that he'd misspoke. Yes, they didn't do that either. So, but I'm calling BS on that. RS is just lying unless he provides the names. Yes, I think so too. The problem I have is by not naming names, you're kind of leading yourself to criticism that it's BS. I agree with that, Stormburn. It's like, my problem with this comment is, I get Real Seeker, Habermas has been his mentor. And that's kind of why I'm going to say that I think that clouds his judgment on this, because you have to move to a more objective pace. And, we have the video receipts of Habermas constantly saying Christian versus non-Christian until Paulogia calls him out on it with his own little fact checking of, no, 79% of these people are confessing Christians. There's another, 20% we don't really know. So we can assume maybe some of them are, but even without assumptions, we're already at 79% of them confessing Christians of various stripes. And then all of a sudden, Habermas still wants to double down on this evangelical. And I just watched, listened to this video that was done 2 weeks ago of Habermas evangelical versus non-evangelical, like the whole Christian, non-Christian comment that he'd done for months, maybe even a year, didn't even exist. Okay. Like that's not a slip up, dude. Okay. It's not a Freudian slip in anything. Okay. Obviously, I referenced you guys with him to respond to, of course. Heck, I'm looking at a 2021 peer-reviewed paper that I sent to Gary within 2 hours of these screw hours right now. So the only one who was wrong, and specifically involving me as the source of the report was Paulogia, or mistaken, or the fact that you didn't communicate very well. And you could have cleared this up by just mentioning their names at the time. And once again, why are you not mentioning names? I find this secrecy about people's names just really bothering, like you're trying to hide something. Most scholars, regardless of type, they want their name mentioned. Like they want some buzz around their name. Okay, so mentioning them, even if they're critics of your viewpoint, and it would also show some honesty about who they are. Like, yeah, these three scholars are critical of Habermas's viewpoint and what he does here on volume 3. Well, who are they? Okay, by not naming them, you're kind of diminishing them too. Okay, if you're really going to take on criticism, then name the names so the rest of us can kind of look at what their criticism is. It's almost like you're trying to hide what their criticism is. Why? Because maybe their criticism, these PhD scholars' criticism, is valid. Is it valid? Okay, I don't think Paulogia was, we may have been wrong about this being referred to as us, but there's pretty clear times when Habermas deals with the minimal witnesses theory, you can tell he's thinking Paulogia, okay? And I find it just completely disrespectful, okay, on his part. It's like, dude, quit calling, and then, the latest Paulogia video on this ends with Habermas like poisoning the well about atheists and mythicists and everything else. And they're just angry and all this, the real ad hominem poisoning well bullshit that Habermas was doing there just made me ill. Okay. The Frank that he hangs out with Frank Turek, which I consider to be one of the most dishonest apologetic shills there is. Okay. Because he's been corrected so many times by people and he still doesn't do anything. But I'm sorry, if I'm angry about anything, it has very little to do with God. It has everything to do with, religion being a lie. Okay. And then we keep getting lied to. And I'm sorry. As far as the olive branch I extended, I don't know if I extended an olive branch. What I did do is, I'm trying to be as objective as I can about this. I am a fan of Paulogia. I used to be a Christian for many years, and I used to look at books like this as, oh, maybe I'll finally get something definitive about Jesus's resurrection and some proof for it. And then I'd be disappointed because even I, with a basic understanding of logic and philosophy, could see the flaws in it, in the reasoning. And I'm like, I keep waiting. I dismissed presuppositional apologetics as good grief. You could prove any faith with that. Just take the technique and, I believe in my Lord God Fangs, the nibbler on vegetables that removes religious corruption from your vegetables, that nibbles on your heart and, wants you to be a better person. And you have to prove that he doesn't exist. That's presuppositional apologetics in a nutshell. Okay. And until you prove he doesn't exist, okay, then I can continue. That's my evidence. That's crap. Anybody can do that. And I'm now hearing that out of Habermas. I've proven the resurrection. So therefore, you guys have to disprove me. You have to disprove the resurrection. And it's like, no, bro. No. It's not so much an olive branch as I'm always open to somebody being honest. If Habermas had, after Paulogia's fact check of his Christian versus non-Christian claim came out, if Habermas had come out and said, there's some holes in my research, I made that claim over and over, and that's just not true. And it was a mistake for me to make that claim without actually confirming it. He didn't do that. He switched to evangelical versus non-evangelical, doubled down, and continues to do so. That's dishonest. I'm sorry, that's not an olive branch. that's you, still continuing to do what you do. Okay, so that's enough of dealing with Real Seeker's comment. I guess I'm going to kind of look through the comments and see if there's some good points here. But I have listened to Real Seeker's interview of Habermas, and I'm debating whether or not I should edit some parts that I think are pertinent, and react to that on Saturday. I may do that, or do a multi-part series. I don't know if I want to spend that much time on a 2-hour live stream. So I'm all for editing of live streams to get it down to the pertinent issues. There's a lot of spaces where Habermas pauses and the questions pause too. So could edit a lot of that stuff out and do a reaction to that. I just don't know if I want to take the time to do it. Other than there's some points I may pull out of that video and talk about. So, wow. Like that, huh? All right, yes. So I don't know. Jabbermas the Hut. Yes. I don't know, Real Seeker. Do you find this picture deflammatory about Habermas? Because I don't know. There we go. This is my problem with Habermas in a nutshell. Okay. One, I don't know what he's smoking to give him the incredulity that says these naturalistic theories don't really explain anything. And the only way you can see it is Jesus actually rose from the dead. That's a lot of hopium. It's a lot of incredulity that he's smoking. I don't care how big your book is. It doesn't make you more true. And I don't know what evidence this is. Okay. Habermas has a lot of problems. Okay. And I'm sorry to you, Real Seeker. Your friend has some issues that I think you might be blinded to because you are close to him. What we're seeing from him is a lot of incredulity. We're also seeing him double down on something that he should have been apologizing for. Okay. And he's not doing it. So there you go. But I'll remove that. But there you go. But yes, I don't know. So over snarking is quite acceptable anyway, in my opinion. There you go. Supermajority Christian. Yes, it's a supermajority Christian survey. So, it could be. If he names the names, then we'll probably know their religious affiliation. So if these are critics of his third volume, and it turns out that the criticism is actually Christians who are criticizing not what he did, but some other aspect of the volume, then, it kind of undercuts their credibility if they name the names and we find out who they are. But it's very dishonest not to name the names of scholars that are critics. Okay, like, what are you afraid of? This isn't about tit for tat. This is about, you long claimed that all these scholars majority do the minimal facts. Well, and they have a lot of support for the minimal facts. Naming their names and letting us know who they are would be like step one to confirming that. Okay, but he doesn't even do that. Now we have a list of names in his book, but yeah, I don't know. Poisoning the well. Yeah, a lot of it. Yep. Real Seeker has bad judgment in general. I had a back and forth with him in the comments on his channel, and he said he put a prior probability on Christianity being true at 5%. Yes, I know that it's a William Lane Craig thing. There's a 5% chance of it being true. It's worth believing. I don't know. My dealings with him were in my chat, and I got this comment, and now he put out this video dealing with critics, interviewing Habermas. I'm not sure what to do with it yet. I've listened to it where he did the question and answer part. I haven't listened to the end of it where he's probably doing more hawking of his book. I don't know. Telling us what's in third volume or fourth volume. But my experience with him, like this comment, I will make that one general statement. The fact that you're close to the guy doesn't make you more objective. It makes you less objective. Okay. Like, you're not looking at what the man did. What Habermas did was constantly claiming that there was more non-Christians in this third volume than Christians. that turned out to be not true at all, quite the opposite. And then all of a sudden, he wants to differentiate evangelical Christians from regular Christians that aren't evangelical to get back to that minority status. And that's irrelevant when you said Christians versus non-Christians the whole time. So, yeah. Yes, I mean, Paul is advertising Habermas is ridiculous all over his chat. Refused to return the compliment. Yeah, it's kind of a dick move, really. Turek was standing on the wall. Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to have to watch it. I looked up the exact quote and he said, three high prod, we observe it all the time. 3 persons equals 1 soul makes perfect sense. Only a biased fool can deny it, really. Yeah. You believe in Mormonism? Not? Okay, yeah. Because you used to be a Mormon, didn't you, Ray Ray? Yep. In defense of Gary, could have reasonably used that he was handed his scholar hunt to his assistant, and his assistant told him such due to his own bias. The fact that Gary didn't says a lot. Well, that's another criticism I had. If you're going to make certain claims about the 3rd book and your assistant is the one that's really doing the work on it, then your assistant should have also been instructed, hey, get me an actual count of the religions of these people, whether they're a skeptic of the religion of the resurrection or not. We need to have this data of where these people stand on this certain issue. So when we make these claims, we're making claims based on actual data, not what we feel or think or whatever else. That's what the assistant, okay, is a guy who got his PhD at the time. He should, and in history or something, and he should have known, hey, we should probably get some other data points on this and not just compile a list. And I don't think he did that. Okay, there's a scholarly failure here to get the data. Okay, his assistant, you're right, is just as culpable for this because he's a co-writer on this particular volume. His assistant should have said, Gary, actually, most of these are Christians, and actually, most of them aren't really skeptics of the resurrection itself. You might want to stop saying that. Okay, and unfortunately, that's a problem. Okay, I don't know, Paul. I know Paul from Paulogia. He's the one who sent me Real Seekers video, so I know he's looking at it. I'd be very interested to hear what's going to come out of that. We always do this issue with platforming, but the more I watch Rationality Rules, the more I think I should just let these people talk, because the more they talk, the more they discredit themselves. So it's fun to actually watch it. Yeah, keep talking about this. Keep going. Keep not naming names, and I'll keep criticizing you for not naming names. Keep doing horrible research when you say X, Y, and Z, and you don't have any numbers to back that up. Well, that's just your opinion, man, until you have some numbers to back it up. But yeah, I do think the thing with the assistant is a legitimate gripe, because the assistant should have, if I'm going to put my name on this, yeah. So Christianity not as openly broad accepted liberal definition. Yeah, well, he also said more non-Christians too. So that a non-Christian kind of has a very specific definition just by the name. I don't generally listen to full live streams after the fact because it's not great to listen to all the pauses, side tangents, and after the fact, even if it can be fun live. Yeah, I think streams are more fun live. So there's that. They don't name names so that they can't get fact checked. They want everything they say to be unfalsifiable. I would agree with that. And this is why I have a problem with not naming names, because I can't do anything about it until you name the names. Because once you name the names, I can look up those names. I can start doing my own research about what they say, who they are, what they believe, and are they really a skeptic of Gary or not? Okay, by not naming names, they kind of leave them in, well, these are 3 PhD skeptics, like they're the only 3 PhD skeptics of the resurrection. I can think of several more off of the top of my head. But yeah, before you think, I puts the odds of it being true about 70%. I'd like to know how he calculates those odds, Stormbird, because I would put the probability of Christianity being true back at his 5%. I went the opposite direction. Okay, so there's that. I could believe there are more Christians that don't have the name Evan, or I could don't like jelly beans and they're Evan jelly. Okay. Oh dear. All right. Yeah, Paulogia is great. I want to say this again, and I did these reactions because one of the complaints against Paulogia is he doesn't have a proper degree in whatever. The strength of scholarship isn't the fact that some guy with a PhD after his name did it. The strength of scholarship is you can demonstrate what you're saying is true with good evidence. Okay. And in historical terms, okay, that means you can demonstrate something has a high probability of being historical. It doesn't matter whether you have a PhD in that or not. If you can gather the evidence and the facts and present them, you can do it. Now, I personally think that some secular university could grant Paulogia an honorary something degree because of the work he's done. He's got a videography of him demonstrating his knowledge of the topic. He's read all the books that he needs to read. He's read more books than I have on this subject. He is a scholar by a more general definition of scholar, somebody given to books and study and learning. Okay. He may not have a degree, but he has the knowledge. And it's the knowledge that we should respect, not the initials in front and back of people's names. Okay. If you can demonstrate your knowledge, then you deserve respect that you can demonstrate your knowledge. And there have been some videos that Paulogia has done in other like YouTube apologist channels said, yep, he's got the facts right, but I think this is why I don't agree with him. And so, he's had people actually acknowledge that he knows what he's doing. And I will acknowledge he knows what he's doing. Okay. Do I agree with him all the time? No, I don't agree with Bart Ehrman, for instance, on, when Bart Ehrman says that some of Gary's facts are facts. I don't agree with that because I'm looking at the source material and saying, I'm sorry, if you have something that's hearsay, you kind of have to put a question mark next to it, whether it's a fact. Okay. Until you get something beyond hearsay level, I'm not going to say something's a fact, but I may disagree with Paul and Bart on that on a couple of occasions. I'm more closer to being a mythicist than somebody who believes that Jesus actually existed. But it doesn't mean that I can't acknowledge that Paul did good work and Bart Ehrman does do good work and other PhDs do good work. Okay. But their authority comes from the work that they do, not the initials in front of them or back of their name. Okay. And that's the real thing about it. So I can personally disagree with the respect that Gary has made his own decision. Okay. All right. So even if Paulogia showed up in the live chat, I would have to just ignore him out of respect for Gary's wishes not to acknowledge him. I do personally disagree with that policy, but I also has made his own decision. Bro, okay, real seeker, be your own man. Okay, Jesus. Quit. What authority does Gary Habermas have over you, real seeker? You're your own YouTuber with your own opinion. Good God. But as far as Habermas, what's his problem with acknowledging the guy's name? That seems kind of childish, to be honest. If you don't speak his name, his criticism doesn't exist. Is that what it is? We're going to treat him like Voldemort? Come on, man. That's superstitious nonsense. Calculating Christianity issue is the standard bastardization of Baines with extra silliness. I read this stuff explaining his method on site, and it's a joke at every step. Okay. Tux! Long time no see, Tux. Outstanding, sir, to see you. Good to see you back. I've heard a lot of stories, but I'm sure you will save them for your own stuff. Gary has no case, and he knows that he's afraid of internet critics. Paulogia may well be studied, but critics are more often well-read than not, including internet critics. Yes. Yeah, I think he's afraid of Paul because here's the thing. If he has to acknowledge that Paul is right about some of his research, then he has to acknowledge that somebody without a terminal degree can make a valid point. And in this video with Real Seeker, because I do have some master's degree, but well, okay, how about me? I, Ed Rabyd, the Rabyd atheist, have a Master of Arts in Theological Studies, a pertinent subject area according to your own definitions of what you say is pertinent. I disagree with your minimal facts. I don't think they're facts because you haven't proven a few things that are foundational to even get to proving the resurrection to me. So there you go. How about me? Come on, Gary. I don't have a terminal degree, but I'm backing up Paul here. Okay, so Paul's not just saying this stuff; I'm saying it too. Okay, but yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he wants to deal with people like Paul and me, because then people have to listen to us what our objections are, and then they can make up their own mind. This real feels like Gary is like protecting his viewpoint from criticism that actually is genuinely critical. Yeah, Smoking Jacks is on. There we go. It's important. Don't get me wrong. It tells people that you've done some work and study, but I always ask now, Ray, what's your PhD in? Like if a guy's got a PhD in, Sumerian, writing, okay, of the ancient past, I'm not going to ask him physics questions. Okay. That's it's like, I'm going to go find a physicist. All right. Instead. Okay. The important thing with PhDs is they indicate a level of knowledge that has been achieved and acknowledged by others. And PhDs are also people that people have contributed to that body of knowledge in some way as well. It's important. I'm not saying it's not. But the authority of a PhD is what they studied and what is their evidence that they're presenting. Like they can stand on their authority as a PhD, but backing that authority is the work that they did. Okay. And I need to know what work you did and what field before I'm going to acknowledge you as an expert. Okay. So I think that's something that you need to remember. Like, I got a PhD. What in? Okay. What in? Yeah. We love Jimmy around here. You debated reels. It was a nice talk. Oh. Hi. You have to subscribe, Paul. I'm glad you're here. I hope you'll watch this later. I dealt with the comment. I know we've been emailing back and forth, but yeah. So there you go. But I don't know. I watched the video too, Paul. I'm not impressed. Okay. I watched it at double speed, thankfully, so it didn't take as long. But I don't know. I think it's a good one for you. I'll let you handle that one first, but I may react to it live this Saturday, at least parts of it. I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll see. Imperial jackets. Oh, yes, we got our Earl is very fangirly. Yes, Paulogia. Let me put that back up so we know what context. Paulogia loves the art. Got that on record. Oh, yeah, it's good to have you, Paul. It is. But yes, this comment, I hope you watch, if you haven't watched the whole thing, Paul, just, yeah, but we have a lot of cool people in YouTube here. But yeah, I don't know. I think the problem I have with Real Seeker, I guess, is he thinks I've extended an olive branch, but I don't know that I have. I'm always willing to have good dialogue, I guess, and I've had it before. But yeah, yeah, oh yeah, Real Seeker video, but not until November. Okay, that's fair. I think what I will do, Paul, is probably do a live reaction to parts of it Saturday. I'm off next week, so I may throw in an extra live stream or 2 or 3 that week. I know I'm doing one for Halloween, and it wouldn't hurt me to do a part 1 and part 2 of Real Sicko's video where I kind of break it down. And you can, of course, copy parts of that if you think they're pertinent. So, but yeah, it's been lovely dialoguing with you on this issue, Paulogia. It really has been, because dude, you do good work. Okay. And I really get tired of Habermas not mentioning your name. It just bothers the hell out of me. It's like there's other people that agree with Paul here that have the scholarly creds, me included. You got some great shout outs from PhDs. Bart Herman's been on your channel, several others. It's like, I don't know how this seems just like really petty to me at this point on Habermas's part. So it's nice that Paulogia comes and supports me too. Listen, I think the one thing as we look to the future of atheist YouTubers and skeptic YouTubers and things like that, we really got to support each other. Okay. Like we got to back each other up. Okay. Because it's hard enough out here as an atheist. Okay. It's, I don't know. I feel like sometimes like the world is against us, and it's nice to know that that's not the case. So it's nice to know that that's not the case, but so there you have it. Um, oh yeah. And by the way, while Captive Desk is here, I'm going to give a shout out to him. Great stuff on Saturday Night at the Atheist. He finds the worst YouTube videos and they have a really good time. It's a good time. Go there. I mean, Grumpy. Oh, yeah, he's not a small YouTuber. I'm actually surprised, Paul, that you don't have more subscribers. Like I thought by now you'd be up to like 500,000. So oh, really? Okay. Yes. Yes, is a joke. He's German. But Captive has a great one. All hail Bigfoot and Fangs. We do that all the time. So, but yes, it's it's been I don't know. I'm looking at this comment. I don't know, Paul. I don't know if Real Seeker is actually helping Habermas's case or not. I think he's making it worse. So we'll see. Habermas whining. Atheists don't subscribe to things, but they watch videos. Christians subscribe but don't watch. That may be very valid, Paul. Oh my goodness, that may be very valid. Like you atheists need to start subscribing to other atheist channels, people. And but no, that may be valid. That might be true. I don't know. I don't know if we have any stats to back that up, but it sure feels true at sometimes. Like they'll subscribe to your channel and drop stuff in the comments, and it's fairly clear that they didn't watch the video at all. Okay, but then atheists will watch my video and make good, solid comments, but then I look at them, they're not a subscriber. So it's that. There you go. Yeah, it's kind of the YouTube conundrum. Yeah, Earl makes a valid point. You have the stats. It's a whole thing. Okay, very good, very good. Got to have more. Got to have better stats than Habermas on who's in his third book. Um, so, but yeah, my issue. I most of the time when I get a comment from a theist, it's pretty clear they didn't watch the video because I've usually addressed their comment in the video. But yeah. Oh, okay. I would like to see that too. If you and Richard Carrier want to have a talk, that would be a good talk. That would be one I would listen to too. Full time comments, Paulogia Project Part 2. Okay, very good. Oh, you are? Okay. Yeah, I like Carrier. He's good. Good stuff. Dave is rolling. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And you need to remember who during which stream that took place. It was my last one on Saturday, Captive, because all of us kind of backed you up. What was it? I'm trying to remember. Yes, yes, that was during the Fluffle stream, as I recall. Isn't that right, Dave? Like the Fluffle here at the Fluffle of Fangs got you over the top with that one. Yeah, yeah. Chapman, if you haven't subscribed to Captive Desk, he does some good stuff too. So, oh, okay. So you're gonna do the empty tomb with Carrier? That would be great. Like, I need to start talking to some of these people, but my autistic self gets to the point where I'm done peopling. So a lot like Shannon. Like Shannon told me that when I had her on my live stream. She says, "Yeah, there are days I just get done peopling." I get it. So, yeah, the fluffle put you over. The fluffle of fangs put you over, Captive, and I'm gonna make sure everybody knows that. Yes, Jimmy the Tux has been here, Azzo. Meantime, Tubba, there we go. Oh, yeah, I mean, but I would love to see that again on the empty tomb. I don't know. Calls, you need the money. Me too. It's been a great stream. Great stream, good guests, good people. I've enjoyed it. Reacting to Real Seeker Dale's comment has dominated most of the stream, but yeah, I don't think this is over. I'm gonna have to take a deep breath and keep dealing with it. But I don't know. I don't know, Paul. I think we got our work cut out for us on this one. So you're refuting inspiring philosophy's case for the Gospels with Carrier. That's a good one too. There's a lot of good stuff. I'm trying to put the finishing touches on my script for a video about why I don't accept the minimal facts at all. Um, so there's that. So I'm about to do that. So all of that is that's on my plate too. I think I'm going to probably have to edit Real Seeker's video down. So I know that this won't be, you double speed read things, so it'll be fine. But I would listen to it. The comment is in there. You can do whatever you like with it. But it's I don't know. And now that I've listened to his video, I'm like, this is not good. So yeah, you provide your own internet. So yes, Michael Wolf is hilarious. Yes, he is. Team for the interviewer. Do they bring their own? Yes. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. But yeah, I'm not trying to be a jerk to the guy. I really am. I try to be respectful to people, but it's like, dude, I don't think you understand the objection. Okay, like the objection. I just don't remember this evangelical thing until after Paul called you on it. Okay, and called Habermas on it. I just don't remember it. Probably because it didn't exist. Bring your own tomb. So you have a tomb and I have a shroud. Oh, let's not even go into the Shroud of Turin. Doesn't Real Seeker believe that the Shroud of Turin is genuine? I can't remember. You bring the snark? Okay, there you go. You're well equipped to do that, Earl. But yes, yes. So there we go. So I don't know. I'm in the final analysis. I do want to take a look at our poll real quick. I do have to go because I have to go to work, but as well. It looks like responses to things like this one is a 50%, combination 39. Open forum is not doing well. So maybe my open forum isn't a great idea. So I will look at that. That's the theme of Habermas. They didn't understand why we object. Yeah, I listened to it, Paul, at double speed before I got on air tonight, and I would agree with your assessment. I don't think they're understanding why we're objecting. Like it's a lot of that. Like Real Seeker tries to ask him questions, but it's like the way Habermas responds, it's just not like he understands what we're objecting to. So yes, Yeah, I definitely think so. Really? Given that the fact that the shroud has been examined by scientists and determined to be a fake and a fraud, and then the Vatican decided not to let people look at it anymore. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Hey, thanks, Stormburn. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's 1 out of 5 now. And I'm only offering one hat option tonight. Usually do 4 in the poll, but I wanted to poll about Monday's stream, what you guys wanted. I think we got with Deconversion Hangout, we have a good stream where deconverted people can come and feel like they're safe to talk about their issues. And Saturday's reaction seems to do really well. So yeah. So there's that. I want the open forum. Also, I piss people off. Okay, there you go. Oh, Jabbermass the Hutt. Yes, here, I'll put him back on stage. There you go. Jabbermass the Hutt. There you go. We did this whole Star Wars theme thing in honor of Paul. So, I'm in it. Earl's in it. Fangs is in it. Paul's in it. Habermas is in it. A lot of the followers of this channel are in it. So, yes. Yeah, but I agree with you, Paul. That's just nuts to me. Like the shroud has more authentication than the resurrection. That's kind of weird. It is weird. Yeah, so, yeah, it's kind of only evidence for Catholicism, and it's not doing very well. They did let it be examined by some people, and they concluded it was a forgery. And then all of a sudden, the Vatican doesn't allow it to be examined anymore. I think is the last word I heard. So, I would say he's trying to think that I have an olive branch extended toward him and Habermas. I don't know that I actually did that. I'm trying to be objective and honest about Habermas and what he did as possible, and trying to give him some benefit of the doubt, but I can't really get past the fact that he advertised this third book as Christian versus non-Christian. And then the moment Paul did some fact checking on it, and it suddenly slipped to oops. Now I got to talk about evangelicals versus non-evangelicals. And the real point was, are the people skeptics of the resurrection or non-skeptics? Like, to me, that would be a better real issue, but I don't know. So, yes. Oh, there you go. Yes, you are clever. You are very clever. Earl's a very clever girl and a good artist, too. I'm glad to have her on as the artist for the channel. She's awesome. Yeah, if you want to go back and watch it double speed, you can. I'm going to cut this off, so it'll probably take you, I don't know, 40 minutes to watch the pertinent parts, probably less. I think I quit at 40 minutes. So at double speed, you could probably listen to this and get it in 20 minutes. So that's what like when I watch live streams, Alex, when I listen to them because I have to, because it's kind of a research thing, I double speed them. People, when you're listening to something live, it's very different, but yeah, you can go back and listen to it, but his comment was basically like, Paul is lying about this. You guys are spewing a lot of disinformation, that sort of thing. And I'm like, what disinformation can we have when we have the video receipts of Habermas saying that? So do they have 3 or 4 times now, Paulogia? Because that would save me a hell of a lot of time. Oh, but yes, Paul, I feel you, because it's like there's so much out here, and you really want to like listen to it to see what people are saying, but it's like, do I have the flipping time with this stuff? And so 3 or 4, I may have to do YouTube Premium just to get the 4 times so I can listen to this stuff quicker. Because I work a job, I do YouTube, I try to do some writing. Time is kind of important to me. So yes, so I have to consider that, because a lot of people are streaming now, and I don't know what to do with that. Like it's hard. Like I could with videos, it's easier because you can double speed them and like get to the pertinent parts. But live streams, often there's a lot of stuff in between and that stuff. So rabbit trails. We love rabbit trails here at the Rabyd Atheist, though. Fangs likes rabbit trails, but yeah, but double speed, yeah, it helps. Yeah, it does get problematic. I don't know if any studies have been done on whether you can retain as much as you speed up a video. Probably somebody should do something. Yeah, sometimes it can be hard to understand. I agree with that. Do they do throughout Habermas's books, or do they do them child-friendly versions of literary classics? So, yes, yeah, yes, we do appreciate rabbit holes here. All right, folks, I do have to quit. I have to get ready for work. I have 4 days left, and then I'm on vacation for a week. And so the last week of October, I'll be probably streaming a couple more times than normal, so we can get together and have a good time. But I do have to run, get something to eat, and get ready for work. But thanks to Paulogia himself for showing up. Appreciate that. Appreciate you guys, all the people that showed up in chat today. Modern Atheism, Tux, glad to see you. There's a lot of people here with good channels. So, I'd like to Captive Desk, the rest of them. So, yeah, appreciate all of you stopping by tonight as I dealt with this comment from Real Seeker. I do think that given the results of my poll, I might start doing like deliberate responses to certain things, maybe not necessarily videos, but when people make comments or things like that. So glad to see all of you here. Appreciate all of you. May Fangs nibble on all of your hearts, and may you draw closer to him. May you make sure that he uses his fangs to purify your vegetables from religious corruption, because you don't want any of that. And make sure you leave a carrot out for Fangs as an offering, and you can make the most holy of vegetables, carrots, even more holy by circumcising them and removing just the tip. And he will be even more accepting and more beneficial to your graces. Nom nom and all of that. May the fluffle of Fangs bless you. As the head of the fluffle of Fangs, I bless you all. Boy, I'm going to have to get used to saying that without laughing. Okay, so there you go. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for coming out. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. And so you want to take all your time, money, and opportunities and give them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time, which will be Thursday at Deconversion Hangout. We'll all come and hang out and have a good time then. So I'll see you all then. In the meantime, love you all. Stay safe. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.